So there's big news in the MMA scene today. Charles Oliveira is officially out versus Islam Makhachev, and take a guess who's replacing him in this matchup. Good old Alexander Volkanovski will be filling in for Oliveira to give us the rematch that we've been begging for, the rematch that we've always wanted. He's going to go in there on short notice with a weak shoulder and fight Islam Makhachev at UFC 294. And oh my God, this is crazy. It sucks for me because you guys know I am a huge Oliveira fan. In fact, he is my favorite fighter on the roster, but I do like me some Alexander Volkanovski. Do not get me wrong. So I am somewhat disappointed that I don't get to see Charles versus Islam in that rematch, but this one kind of replaces that. Maybe to me it's not as good, but to others it's better. If you're a huge Volk fan, you probably do prefer this fight. In terms of competitiveness, this is probably the correct rematch or the correct fight to have, because again, Volk did have a more competitive fight with Islam as opposed to Charles Oliveira. So maybe in terms of competitiveness, this one beats all of it. But I like Oliveira, man. I really wanted to see this matchup happen. And so this kind of worries me about what's next for Oliveira here. I don't know what's going to happen to him in his career having this injury. But then again, we kind of already knew about this injury prior to this even happening. Oops, hello, me from the future here. I kind of forgot to put this in the video, but apparently Charles Oliveira sustained an eyebrow cut in the 5th round of sparring. It wasn't from that previous injury that he got after the Beneil Dariush fight. I didn't put this in the video because I'm an idiot and I forgot to read the context surrounding it. I just assumed it was a fluke injury that he had, or he wasn't healthy enough for the Islam fight, but it was a cut that he got in sparring today or yesterday at the time of recording this video. So sorry about that. Back to the video. After the Beneil Dariush fight, and the whole plan was that he wasn't going to turn around in time enough to fight Islam in October. That was the whole thing was going to happen. He said he was ready in December, I believe. It's what he referenced to be ready for this fight, but the UFC probably gave him a bag to take this one early, but I guess he's not getting that now since he's pulling out. So I have no clue what's happening with that. And now Volkanovski takes his place, and great matchup. I'm excited. I can't wait for this. I'm glad that it's Volkanovski and not Mateus Gamrot, because don't get me wrong, Mateus Gamrot is cool, but he's not an Islam versus Gamrot. It ain't gonna sell much. It ain't gonna sell much. Let's be honest here. But Islam versus Gamrot ain't gonna be an Oliveira versus Makhachev. It ain't gonna be a Volk versus Makhachev. It does suck for Mateus Gamrot, but then again, I could care less about that fluke win he got over Rafael Fiziev. I'm still mad about that prediction. But in terms of who I'm picking to win this, I don't know, man. Like, I think Volk has to be at his best to beat Islam. And I think Islam has been preparing for this date. He's been preparing for this date for a very long time. He's been ready for Abu Dhabi for a minute now. Volk's coming off surgery. He's on 1 week's notice, a week and a half pretty much of notice. So I don't know if we're going to see the best Volkanovski we've ever seen. But him taking this matchup kind of affirms to me that he's confident that he could probably beat Islam, but the weight cut's going to be harder for him. He's coming off the shoulder surgery, so how healed is he from that surgery? We don't know. Only he knows. I just don't think that he has enough time to prepare for Islam. I don't think we're going to see the best Volkanovski that we've ever seen that's going to fight Islam, and I think he has to be at his best. I think Volk needs a full camp. He needs a nice, long weight cut. He needs to know at least like 10, 12 weeks beforehand when the fight's going to be and where it's at and how long he has to train for and what he needs to do. Coming in on a week and a half notice is definitely not optimal for Volk, and I don't think he'll be able to get it done against Islam. I mean, how much time has he had to prep for this fight? He was probably going to fight Ilia Topuria, you know what I mean? He was probably going to wait and sit out and see what happened with the Oliveira versus Makhachev fight, and probably fight Topuria in the meantime, who is not a grappler by any means. And then if he happened to beat Topuria, go in for his Islam rematch. That was probably the whole plan for Volkanovski, so I don't know what he has done in the meantime. I know he's been training. This guy's a very hardworking guy. That's why I like Volk. He's always taken MMA seriously. He's always in shape. So there's no doubt in my mind, even though this is on short notice, There's not a single doubt in my mind that Volk will be in tip-top great shape. I think a week and a half is probably even enough time for him to get into really crazy good shape. But for him to have his grappling as the best it could be, like him to be really switched on early, I don't know if it's enough time for him to really get this fight done. So I'm probably going to take take Islam. I'm probably going to take Islam probably by decision again, but I would love for Volk to win. This is the year of the upset, and I think that Volkanovski can get it done. I want him to win. In my opinion, he is pound for pound number one, without a doubt, over Jon Jones. I don't care what Jon Jones has done so far. He's been out for years. I think right now Volkanovski is pound for pound numero uno, and I do think he has a real shot to beat Islam. I just think on short notice, I'm going to have to take Islam, especially in a championship bout. When it's this evenly matched, when it's this even on the ground and on the feet, I think it has to go to the guy who has more time and who has prepared for this date. I mean, because you can argue that Islam is taking it on short notice too, because he was preparing for Oliveira, who's a striker, who is more rangier than Volk, who is better at jiu-jitsu, stuff like that. So you can kind of argue that Islam now has to kind of change game plans here, but I think he's probably in better shape. He's probably already started his weight cut, his diet. He's probably already into the ebbs and flows of what it is to be a UFC fighter or taking a fight in the UFC. He's already pretty much prepared for this fight, even if it's not against Charles Oliveira. While as Volk was probably doing his normal cooking show on Instagram, he got a call from Dana White. He was like, "You want to fight Islam at 294? And he's probably like, yeah, fuck it. You know what I mean? He's going to go out there and fight. And before I get out of here, this is probably the best outcome for the featherweight division. If Volk versus Islam was going to happen later down the road, then we're kind of having a big holdup, a big log jam, because who's Superior going to fight at featherweight? He's not fighting Arnold Allen. He's not fighting Brian Ortega. He's not fighting Josh Emmett again. He's not fighting Max Holloway, of all people. So there's nobody left for him to fight, and that will mean Superior would have to sit out for months and months and months on end, waiting for his title shot against Alexander Volkanovski. So now that Volk is getting this fight out of the way with Islam first, it now saves some time for Topuria to not have to sit out for 6, 8, a year even. He can just hop right back in there whenever Volk is ready, which will probably be ready in maybe 6 months or time. Volk's always active. So this saves time. This helps delay or shorten the logjam of the featherweight division in the future with Topuria versus Volkanovski. So thank God, because imagine if Volk just sat out for the next 8 months waiting for a shot against Islam again. Then they would fuck over everything for Superior, and he's out for another year and a half maybe. It'd be terrible for him. And at this point, you can't really do an interim belt for featherweight because there's nobody to fight Superior to gain an interim belt. It'd just be all really washy, and you have to just figure out some things, and it would feel very, very not credible at that point if Superior's fighting Yair Rodriguez for an interim belt. If he's fighting a Max Holloway for an interim belt, it wouldn't feel good. It just wouldn't feel good at all. So this is probably what's most optimal right now. This is probably what's best for the featherweight division. And if Volk does win and he goes to fight Topuria down the line, it will be even better win for Topuria if he happens to beat Volk. And this probably puts Volk in the GOAT conversation for sure if he does become double champ. And if Islam wins this matchup against Volkanovski, I will have no doubt in my mind that he is the lightweight GOAT. I will put him over Khabib without a doubt. I think beating Volk twice and beating Oliveira at least once is probably, no, not is, it will make him the lightweight GOAT. It's better than any wins that Khabib has ever had in his career. Charles Oliveira and Alexander Volkanovski are the best wins that Islam could probably ever have in his career at this point. And if he beats Volk twice, it's like, oh my God, this guy is legitimately the lightweight GOAT. Because Khabib ain't ever beat anybody like Charles Oliveira. He ain't beat anybody that was ever like Alexander Volkanovski. He beat Conor McGregor, who was good, but McGregor wasn't the featherweight GOAT at the time. He beat Poirier. Poirier was never a champion. You know what I mean? Oliveira has submission records. He has all these achievements in the UFC, and Islam was able to beat him. So I think if Islam does get that repeat win, he wins the rematch versus Volkanovski in a week and a half from now, he has to be my lightweight GOAT without a doubt. Bit of a quick video today. I was kind of not planning to make this video because, I didn't expect this at all. So I kind of just was editing a video, and then bam, this news just hit. So this is probably the video that's coming out tomorrow instead of the one that I'm making now, or I was making at the time. before I started recording this news hit. So yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait for Volk versus Islam too. This is the best outcome possible that wasn't Charles Oliveira. I'm out of here, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video up to this point. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. I'm out of here. Peace.